Okay, so we are going to be talking about creating a home based haunt. So, with our home based haunt, that's loosely, I guess.
Home base haunt from this year, 2023, or last year? Which one are we starting with?
I think we're going to start with last year and
Okay.
then how that led us up to now in this year.
Okay.
So, I'll ask you the questions
Okay.
and we'll kind of go back and forth together.
Yeah.
Okay, so how did we start the process?
Well, we found out that building tiny houses was too expensive, so not really a cheap hobby. So we found a new hobby. And
Mm-hmm.
that kind of started from our love of horror and Halloween, Halloween Horror Nights, going through haunted houses and thinking, yeah, we could do that.
Yeah.
Um, so I think it was just we wanted an excuse to decorate the house for Halloween. And
Mm-hmm.
then after a certain point, we spent way more than we should have for living out in the sticks. And we thought, hey, we should invite people to come out and actually see it. So I think that's where we started, was throwing the party last year.
Yeah, so last year was more of we had never um, invited people over, I guess, or had hosted an event or anything like that because we don't really have a big house or an area to do it.
Yeah, we have what, 200 to 400 square feet, somewhere in there.
Right, so we can't hold Friendsgiving or, Christmas parties or anything like that. So last year we did a party, and I don't really remember how you were talking about that, but I don't really remember how we got started with it. Like, I feel like
With the party or the decorating?
both. Like, I just feel like it just came out of nowhere. You're like, hey, let's do this. And I'm like, all right, cool.
The party stemmed from we had acquired so many like Home Depot props, and we were doing a bunch of DIY props. We had written a story to go with our outdoor theming. So I think it was really just an excuse to validate the time and effort that we spent towards it,
Mm-hmm.
so that it wasn't just a you and me thing and, well, that was cool, and move on. I think we wanted people to see the work that we had invested into it.
Yeah.
And
And
we
so
invited, I mean, we had about 30, a little more than 30 people come, I think.
more than this year.
More, more than this year. Yep.
Well, I
People like food.
think well with the haunted part aspect of it for the first year was not like our beginning idea.
Yeah, that was a side note because we had the bathroom in a trailer that was on property. So
Yes.
if anybody needed to use the bathroom while they
Right,
were
because
here,
they couldn't come in our bathroom because of our animals.
yeah. So we
Um,
decided we would put something in the trailer so that they had to kind of walk through it. And it was really to hide all of the chaos and the disorganization, hide all the stuff that was in here.
that's true.
So we just blocked all that off with black curtain and thought, yeah, we can spray some spider webs, we can add some animatronics
And some glow paint.
and glow paint and black lights and fog and music.
I'll be honest though, the scary part of that was the actual bathroom because remember inside we had like the fortune teller and
The
we
bathroom was
had
really, really well done.
yeah, I really liked the
We had the red
bathroom.
rum light
Cuz
going
I
on.
always like going into themed bathrooms.
Yeah, there's not a lot.
Like no, and I love about a good bathroom, you know? Like
Yeah.
you walk into a restaurant and you want to check out the bathroom. That's always just what I think.
Yeah. Do you remember
Um
the bathroom at Obscura in Riverside?
Obscura. Is that the coffee shop?
Yeah, the little like coffee shop bar thing. I think they had black lights in the bathroom and
Yes.
like horror
And it was
movie
like horror
posters.
posters, yeah. Yeah,
That was
that
a
one
cool
was cool.
bathroom.
Um I need to start writing a list down of cool bathrooms, and maybe that can
You
be one of our
should.
episodes. Okay. Okay, so I guess moving on to what we included in our. That rat is working really hard,
He's
or she. You don't want to assume gender.
He's for a rat.
Okay, so what props have we made thus far? Like do-it-yourself props, and what tools did we use?
What's your favorite prop that we've made?
Ooh, I think the the tombstones are really cool, but I really like the pillars that we did this year. I think they look
Pillars were really
pretty
good.
awesome.
I think the pillars were a step past the tombstones. We learned a lot from the tombstones, and this is kind of our first step into making full facades. Because honestly, if we'd had the time, I would have loved to make our tiny house look like a castle.
Yeah,
That would be really cool to me.
not with foam or anything, but
Well, yeah, because then
Well,
it's
I guess.
removable. We can take it off the next day. Like it's not permanently adhered.
that's true, I guess. So going on to that, so if anybody's listening that has no idea how we even made those things, and when I say pillar, I'm talking about like a
Like a
Like a-
column.
column, yeah,
Four
like
sided. It was about 4 foot tall.
yeah, it looks like brick, like
Yeah, it was about 12 inches wide, 12 inches deep, about 4 foot tall.
yeah. So
And really, all it was kind of a wooden box made with whatever lumber we had lying around, 2x4s and like plywood to make the actual box shape. And then we we glued on 1 inch pink foam to each side and then the top. And then we took some hot
So-
wire tools.
hold on, so pink foam. A lot of
Yes.
people are probably gonna be like, "What's pink foam?
So it's like I think it's made by
Insulation?"
Yeah, it's insulation foam. It's kind of like the flat sheets. They normally come in 4x8 sheets. You can get them in a bunch of different sizes. Sometimes they'll cut them at Home Depot for you. We buy the full sheets and cut them in the parking lot so that they fit in the car.
Yes, we did.
Done that a few times. And depending on where you live, it may only come in 1 inch near you. I think it comes in anywhere from 1 to 3 inches in some places.
And we
usually
like-
drive to Valdosta for the 2
yeah,
inch.
we like the 2 inch because
Yeah, I don't like gluing them together. I don't feel like it. I don't like the seams. So
I don't think it looks good either.
no. We did most of really all the tombstones this year with 1 inch foam, and they're okay. It's just harder to hide the seams once you glue them together.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so you were going on to say what tools we were using.
Yes. So Hotwire Foam Factory, we met them at. They had a representative at Southeast Hollows Convention.
In Savannah.
Yep. It was our first Haunters or Halloween convention that we've been to. And it was actually their first year this year in Savannah. So that was a cool first trip there.
Yeah.
So we met with their representatives. They had a really good deal on 2 different tool sets. So we got their industrial hot knife and then one of their kind of prepackaged kits that had hot knives as well as hot wire tools.
Yeah, so let me go back and say that I allowed you to get this because you took me into the
Oh, the class.
class that showed us how to do it. And so
Forgot
I
about
was in awe the whole time as he was showing us that it just cut so easily. And
Yeah.
I watched you make our other
Our
tombstones,
first year ones.
our first year ones, with a Dremel
and a jigsaw.
and a jigsaw.
And they were very difficult.
They were still really good, but it was a lot more messy.
Yeah, I used a Dremel inside, so I can only imagine the dust and the harmful dust that probably created.
Right,
for
and you
me.
weren't wearing a mask.
Oh, no,
so,
absolutely not.
yeah, so that's why I was like, okay, yeah, we're getting this. I don't really care how much it cost.
Yeah.
I mean, I do, but I don't.
No, it was a really good investment because
think
again,
so, too.
we've been able to use it for the pillars, for the columns, for all the other gravestones.
And then we can use it again when we do a facade
Exactly. Yeah.
and stuff like that. So, yeah, I would highly recommend.
Well worth the cost.
Yeah.
And you don't have to get Hotwire Foam Factory. They're more of the main brand, mainstream supplier, but they've also got off-brand ones on Amazon. I believe even Harbor Freight has a version of a lot of the tools.
Really?
At least the industrial hot knife, yeah.
I didn't know that.
I'm sure the costs are a lot more reasonable for those, but
But I
now
like
that we have
how
ours,
with a hot wire you can kind of. I don't know if any other ones do this, but when it's not hot, obviously you can mold it, the wire, into whatever you want.
I think they have versions, but I think a lot of others you may have to buy each one separately. I don't know. I'm sure there are kits, but I don't know what all the kits come with. Ours, I feel like, came with a little bit of every tool we would need. The only one that we don't have currently that would be cool would be the like the big 4 foot bow cutter.
Oh yeah,
But
that
again,
thing
we're
is
not
massive.
like we don't build sculptures yet. We haven't done a giant pumpkin using that or foam. I'd love to, but it's massive. And honestly, I don't know where we'd get that big of foam. We've tried the Tractor Supply ones, but again, they haven't been able to glue very well for us.
I think there's like a place where you can actually, maybe probably in California.
Yeah, California has a lot of suppliers,
Yeah.
and the shipping costs for a huge block are
So there's probably
tremendous.
people, like I remember watching a YouTube video of that woman doing the pumpkin with the big foam block, and she was from California. So she probably just went over there and bought it and just took it to her house. But
Yeah, they have a lot of cool suppliers being around the big theme parks and stuff like that. They have a lot of haunting conventions as well. I think there's at least 3 or 4 throughout that area. That'd be cool to check out.
yeah. Okay, so other than the hot wire factory tools, we used Drylock, acrylic paint, and clear coat sealer.
Yeah, so anything that we've done in the foam, just to allow it to be put outside, make it UV resistant, give it kind of a hard coat. It doesn't make it so hard of a coat that you can't put your fingernail in it or scrape it off or scratch it or anything like that. But it gives it a little more peace of mind, a little more resistance to the elements, especially the sun. That's probably the main reason we put it on, as well as it's a lot easier to use all of the acrylic paints on top of Drylock versus regular foam. On the foam, it tends to leave streaks and things like that,
Yeah.
whereas on the Drylock, it kind of gives it that matte finish at the beginning, so it's a little easier to do the washes, do the letter painting and all that stuff.
Yeah, it makes it look more genuine, like an
Yeah.
actual.
Yeah, it gives it that stone texture because I know they come in at least white Drylock and gray Drylock. You can also add paint to it as an additive. We just get the gray Drylock. I don't remember what the cost is, but it's not tremendous.
No, it's not that bad.
I think we made a gallon work for 4 tombstones, all kind of normal size, 2x2 ish.
Okay. So, another prop that we made was our giant pumpkin. And that one is a piece of work.
Yeah, that was our first, I think, real attempt at doing a DIY giant prop. I think we've only done 2 giant props. Last year was the pumpkin, and this year was the cauldron. They're both about 4 to 5 foot wide and about 4 to 5 foot tall. So they're,
And a pain in the butt to carry.
yeah, they're
Because of
massive.
they're so well. The cauldron isn't as bad because it doesn't have wood.
And they're not heavy. They're just cumbersome.
I disagree. The giant pumpkin is pretty darn heavy.
It's probably 50 pounds total.
It's heavy. Anyways,
I think it's awkward to carry because it
because
so-
it also has chicken wire on it.
So the giant pumpkin, we have pictures of pretty much all of our props on our website as well, so we can link
Yeah.
that. But the giant pumpkin was essentially a wood frame, kind of in the middle. If you took a slice of it, we had that profile made out of wood, and then we did kind of a wooden frame at the top and the bottom, so we could give it that profile, almost like the old school puzzles where you had to like stack all the slices up, and then it made like a face.
Yes.
It was super tedious then. It's more tedious now. So after we had those 3 wood frames, we did chicken wire to shape,
Ugh, the worst.
which making chicken wire into a pumpkin shape
Not
is
feasible.
not as easy as it sounds, turns
No,
out.
we thought it was gonna be.
It sounded super
easy.
simple.
Yeah.
So we did the 3 kind of plywood slices, chicken wire to shape, PVC pipe down the middle so that if we needed to kind of put it on top of some rebar to hold it in place, we could. We've not done that. We haven't really needed to. It weighs enough all by itself where it hasn't flown away. If it did, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. One of our neighbors would have a giant pumpkin in their yard.
It toppled over this year.
Yeah, it's not a super sturdy base that
Honestly, it
keeps it
can
level.
go to the trash for all I care.
I almost took it today. I've
You
seriously
really,
considered it.
you really should have.
I'm ready to put that and the cauldron in the trash already.
Agreed.
So on top of the chicken wire, we thought, let's do paper mache. We used 2 different types of wood glue. It worked.
Oh, also, we did this in like the summer. So,
Yeah, it just time-wise,
and we live in Florida, so
all of our
it
outdoor
was
projects are in
absolutely
summer.
awful. Do not recommend.
So after the paper mache and wood glue, we used some sort of like boat sealant. It was like fiberglass, but it didn't have any like fibers in it.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah, no, you weren't home for that.
Boat sealant? What is that?
It was like this dark brown. It dried harder than the paper mache,
Huh. Okay.
and I didn't even put it on all of it. So
I did
I don't
not
know how much
that.
that actually helped.
You're just now telling me that for the
Yeah.
first time.
And then
Do you
after
know
that,
what
we
that
spray
means?
painted it.
Do you know what meme that is from? You didn't just
Donald
now tell
Trump?
me? Yes.
Yes. I don't know exactly when, but yes.
Okay, so
So yeah, I think the giant pumpkin turned out really well for our first attempt at a lot of these methods. But if I were to do it again, I would probably do foam somehow, some way. I would stack 1 or 2 inch pieces on top of each other before I did this again.
yes,
I'm
agreed. That was
over the pumpkin.
ridiculous. Yeah. Okay, moving on from our giant pumpkin, which I'm sure other people probably thought it looked good, but
It looked cooler with smoke.
yes,
Still not
and
great,
lights,
though.
but yeah, it didn't really
Oh
look
yeah,
like a
that was
pumpkin.
my favorite part of the pumpkin was the flickering lights we had in it.
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
It was
we
those
did
lights
put the
from
lights.
Amazon where they have like 3 different settings. They look like fire.
Mm-hmm.
You can make it where it glows, where it just kind of flickers.
Yeah.
And then, I don't remember, the other one might just be on.
It definitely didn't look like the Halloween Town pumpkin that we
No,
wanted
and that
it
was
to
definitely
be.
our hope. And not even close.
Hey, it's a wish.
It was.
It
It was the
was like-
Wisher Sheen Shine.
Cheyenne.
Cheyenne.
No, I honestly don't even know how to pronounce that. So if somebody else does, let us know.
Yeah.
So the giant cauldron that we made. So that was for this theming of this year.
Mm-hmm.
Still, we did paper mache. However, we used foam instead, like she should have done for the pumpkin. But so we used all the same stuff except for we didn't do the wood or the chicken wire, or PVC pipes, right?
You're right. Yeah.
Okay.
I
So
drilled
it was.
holes in the bottom. So
That's
that
why
the
it was
water could
much
go in.
lighter and easier to carry.
Yeah, it was just foam. Bunch
Yeah.
of air.
And then we put, we didn't do the embers down at the bottom like most people do. We might try that one. I don't know. We might try that
That would have
eventually.
been cool to give it like a big base and have it as one big thing. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we just ran out of time this year.
Yeah. But I actually really liked it. It was a little lopsided, but it wasn't terrible.
I wish I would have tried to shave the foam down using one of the hot wire tools.
Yeah, so
I
it
think
didn't
I
look as
tried-
frumpy.
Yeah, I think I tried the wire tools and those didn't work. So I thought, all right, well, that's it.
Yeah.
And then the sander didn't work. But I think the industrial hot knife might have cut through it. We might give that a shot another time.
Yeah. Okay, so those are really our big ones. Well, besides the movie sign centerpiece, well, that really wasn't something we created.
The
That
letters
wasn't-
were.
The letters were, yeah.
So the movie sign is probably 10 foot long, 6 foot high, and it's the old school where you have to put the letters on it to kind of form out the words like a lot of fast food places have.
or
but
like
they're
diner,
not.
like drive-in movies or something.
Yeah, I think it was from kind of a drive-in movie.
Yeah.
And my grandfather had it, and at some point they became illegal for certain businesses, or this is where I was told. I don't know how accurate it is. I don't know if they've ever actually been illegal. That seems odd, but whatever. So they were told to take it down either way, wherever their business was in Jacksonville or out in Lottie. So his method of hiding it was to take it into the woods between 2 trees and just let it rot.
For how many years?
Let's see,
40?
Dad died in 06, so It was way before that. It was probably before I was born. It's probably the 80s. So yeah, probably 40, at
Yeah.
least 40 to 50 years.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's been sitting there. So we got the tractor out and we pulled it out in what,
We-
an hour?
Yeah, it was
Wasn't too bad. Tied some straps around it. Kept yanking, kept yanking.
It was actually pretty fun.
Yeah. The lights inside don't work. Like none of the electronics do. But
No, but we put lights in it to
yeah,
make
we
it
got a
kind of
micro
flicker.
flicker controller from Fright Props. Got two
Yeah.
LED light strips.
Oh, and then we put red paint on it to make it look like blood splatter.
Yeah, I put red paint, spray paint directly on my hands with
Oh,
no
yeah.
gloves. And there's a
Idiot.
bunch of red handprints. I should be a bigger proponent of safety, and
Yeah, no, he's not.
Don't,
I have to be
uh,
the one to say, OSHA.
right.
Which makes sense because of, I'm
You're
like,
public health.
Yeah.
I'm more engineer. I just want
Yeah.
to get the job done as quick as possible.
yeah, you have to think of like safe ways to do that. Okay.
So the movie sign is still my favorite. So the letters are really, really expensive to buy. They're like
Yeah.
$400 to $600 for a set, and you can't get individual letters because that's just not how they're manufactured and packaged.
And I actually like making those. Kind of.
They're
So if somebody wanted to if they wanted to buy some from us,
oh yeah,
we could make them
I
for
would
you.
absolutely make them for a price. Yeah,
Yeah.
because really all it is, like our method was, we made Cricut letters, kind of the size that we needed. We kind of reversed engineered the sizes we had to have, and then
With-
we laminated them.
Not with vinyl, not Cricut
No,
vinyl.
just
We made it
black
with
cardstock.
black cardstock, and then we laminated them, which we bought our own laminator, and I absolutely love
Yeah, it's
laminating
Best
stuff.
$30 ever.
Yeah, and I take it to work and I use it all the time. So
Yeah, and if you're doing this, the letters are not the final size you need. You need to have a border for the laminated part.
right, yeah, you have
around
to be
the
able
letters.
to stick it. Well, depending on what type of movie sign or
For the
what are,
one like
what are
we
they
had,
called? They're not even called movie signs. They're
they're
called
like changeable letter
sandwich
signs.
boards, maybe changeable letter.
When I
boards?
was Googling what letters we needed, it was called a
Changeable.
changeable letter sign.
Okay, yeah, because
But
they're
they come
everywhere.
in so many different sizes, so
Mm-hmm.
all the letters, like you have to know what they are. So I think ours have to be like 11 1/4 inches high.
Yeah. You good?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm only half sick.
Okay, so yeah, so that's our movie sign. And then another prop that I love to do is our horror dolls. So they're basically like the porcelain dolls from Goodwill. And then you can, I mean, you've probably seen this around everywhere. We have two actually in our room right now that I did. I made one into a Reagan doll from The Exorcist, and that's like my favorite one. We tried to sell these dolls, that didn't work
I don't
out,
think
which
we
is
marketed
fine.
them very well. We
I-
put them on
no.
like one place.
Well, we put it on Etsy and was like hoping people would buy them, but
Yeah,
no.
because nobody else is selling horror
Yeah,
themed
nobody.
dolls,
No,
so
nobody does that anymore. So,
they're everywhere.
yeah. So I like to make them look pretty and kind of. Actually, there's one in the hallway over there too. That was in our
There's-
haunted house this year.
I think we had
Okay, we
upwards
have,
of
like-
50.
yeah, we
that
have
had got
so
from
many
Goodwill
dolls.
And,
And
thrift stores.
what's funny is I used to hate hate porcelain dolls
I did
because
too. Dolls in general
Yeah.
were one of my biggest fears as a kid because,
yeah.
I mean, Child's Play Chucky, like that traumatized me as a kid, and now it's my favorite. So.
Right. I love them. I think they're super pretty. They're cute. They're fun to play with. They're not going to talk to us or anything. I mean, they're just
I mean,
dolls.
If they did.
I mean, I
that'd be
do
cool.
think that some dolls are like haunted. Like
I think they can be, yeah.
they can be,
And
but
I think you just treat them delicately, give them, just kind of acknowledge, like,
yeah.
I don't know, don't like throw them in the dirt and be like, get away from me.
No, I think they need to be respected as any other. I sound so crazy right now.
I mean, any other
they
antique,
need to be, yeah, they need to be respected as,
not trash.
yeah. I mean, they're not trash. And like, I remember when we went to Goodwill one time and we were looking for like crappy looking dolls or whatever, or broken dolls. Goodwill will not sell you something that you tell them is broken.
Yeah, you have to hide it during checkout
Yeah.
and then hope they don't catch it.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, lesson learned. I really, really, really wanted this doll.
And they
It was
were
perfect.
It
And
was gonna
the
go in the trash.
porcelain was, yeah, we were like, can we just go get it? And they were like, no, you can't do that. That's,
I mean, it's a safety hazard for them. I get it.
yeah. But still,
If you go to Shep's, they don't care.
I don't think anybody knows what Sheps is, babe.
It's like a wholesale distributor. So when I was
It's
younger,
like Ollie's.
it's like Ollie's, but nobody cleans it. And it's got all the food that Ollie's knows is expired by like 5-6 years. And
It's-
Shep's goes, it's fine.
It's the ghetto Ollie's.
It's not even ghetto. It's
It's-
like, it's trailer park
It's
Ollie's. And I can say that because I grew up in a trailer.
So it's white trash Ollie's. Okay, I shouldn't say that.
No,
I apologize.
You grew up in a 3-story house.
Whatever. You weren't white trash either.
I grew up in a trailer park, basically,
I know.
like in a junkyard.
I know.
So, for context, my family technically owned a wrecker service business.
We're going way off topic.
Yeah, but I have to validate this.
Okay.
So, my family owned a wrecker service business on the west side of Jacksonville, in the poor side of the town, I think.
Yeah.
So we weren't like making bank or anything like that. We had enough to get by. We lived, I don't know, maybe a quarter mile behind the actual business. So between us and the business was this long dirt road. My grandma, my aunts, a whole bunch of family lived on that road. And it was a big junkyard between our house and the business. So that combined with me being in a trailer, little double wide, technically I grew up in a junkyard or a trailer park without any other trailers.
I mean, I had family who lived in trailers, so it's not like I was like. And when he said 3-story house, I did not grow up in a 3-story house.
2-story split level.
Okay, it is a 2-story split level. If
The
we want
first floor is the garage that was enclosed.
Okay, yeah, and it was a nice house.
Yeah, you had a nice house.
It was a nice house. It was, I didn't grow up super poor. We had money, but we didn't have money, if you know what I mean. My
get you.
parents made it seem like we were okay.
Yeah, I mean ours did too. To be honest, like I didn't.
And honestly, they probably weren't. So
Yeah.
it was like, that's why I really respect my parents and what they had to go through.
Yeah, I feel like financially our families were probably really similar.
Mm-hmm.
I think ours may have invested money into different things. So my dad always had hobbies. I think that was absolutely passed down. I love hobbies.
Apparently.
I have no issue spending money on these hobbies. Even with little
I'm very well
return.
aware of that.
So it's not a good trait, but it makes me happy and it makes us happy, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
So, sorry, that was really long rabbit
that was
trail.
way off topic.
So, movie sign centerpiece, that's one of my favorite things.
Wait,
that we've done.
we stopped talking about that already. We were on
Yeah, I
to the
know.
horror dolls.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Okay, so anyways, yeah, he did like 2 or something, painted the horror dolls. So I'll probably keep continuing to do that, but yeah, it's just something I like to do. Okay, so moving on to research and what goes into making a solid story. So why don't you explain a little bit about, because you're the one that makes the story, and I'm more of the design type part of this, and you're the storyteller. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So, I have no training in storytelling. I've read a few books on it. So, what I think makes a good story is probably not the overarching advice or tips that you would get on Google or from listening to people that have actually gone to school for this or invested the time to make this a career or a really good hobby. I just enjoy doing it. So this is what I think goes into a good story. to me, the first thing is you need to know the two sides. So, for every main character, protagonist, there's always a dividing factor or an antagonist. Some sort of adversary to the protagonist or to your main character. And maybe that's just for writing Halloween or horror stories. You know, for every, like, Pennywise was the adversary to the kids.
Mm-hmm.
There's Leatherface for all the teenagers and literally anybody that comes into that town.
Right.
So every horror icon is the antagonist, typically. So just being aware of what your two groups of people are, both the positive and the negative. To me, it also helps for the antagonist to have a purpose. If you just throw some cannibal butcher into the story and your only rationale is, well, they're a cannibal butcher, you're going to lose me pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's got to be a reason. He has an origin story. Most normal people in reality do. So my example for this is everybody starts off kind of pure. As babies, as kids, like you don't come out of the womb fighting people typically.
I would hope not. I mean,
So
maybe.
take Hitler, for example.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Surely, I don't know this firsthand because I wasn't alive, but surely Hitler had to have been cute as a baby or was some mild-mannered kid.
Maybe, but my name isn't Shirley.
It's terrible. He's just like your dad.
I know. Oh goodness.
So Hitler had an origin story, you know. It could have been a million different things. It could have been him not getting into art school. I don't know. But
he was pissed. Oh, sorry. He was mad.
we are trying to make this a clean podcast.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
We'll see if Casey can last.
Again, I'm just like my dad.
So having the purpose behind the antagonist is a big thing for me. I don't want people to just come right out the gate evil and me never understand why they are what they are, even if that means you're going to stretch the story out over a sequel or two. Either way, there's got to be something.
I think a lot of it has to do with trauma in their lifetime.
Yeah, could have been.
Probably.
I don't know if the Halloween franchise ever really nailed down. The Rob Zombie version
Yes.
tried to.
Right, because of the traumatic life he led.
But I don't know that I've actually watched all of the Halloween, like, official movies to be able to say whether they actually have addressed that.
Yeah. Well, some
or why
of it
he's now
is
basically invincible.
Well, with mental health, a lot of these antagonists are, they've had things happen to them. His family was crazy. Like, I'm not going to say the word, but...
Was that inbred?
I think so.
Okay.
I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that.
All right.
Oh, no, that was The Hills Have Eyes. Those were inbred.
Oh, okay.
Anyways, we're going off topic. I'm just saying that if you do a story with a protagonist, it would be wise to... I'm sorry, not a protagonist, an antagonist. You know what? I'm just going to stop talking and let you just continue on.
No, I mean, I think there's origins to both sides. I'm not saying only the antagonist should have an origin story.
Right.
Maybe your sequel in your story writing is you're setting up the protagonist as everybody's hero, and that's who everybody relates with, and then come to find out this is their origin story that turns them into that negative icon or that negative character.
Yeah.
So I think that can happen to both sides. So that kind of eases into the next part. To me, relatability is a big thing. So not necessarily making a character, maybe like Freddy Krueger, where you identify with something with him, but picking out a piece of his personality. That
He's
maybe
afraid of fire.
Yeah, maybe he's afraid of fire, and maybe...
No, he is afraid of fire.
Well, yeah. So if somebody else is afraid of fire, sure. To me, it's he kind of uses sarcasm
Yeah.
as a big part of his actual personality. Um, so that's kind of a really, really loose example, but it's an example nonetheless. So just making a part of your story relatable, whether it be the protagonist, whether it be the antagonist, or just the setting, something like that.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Past relatability, this may just be kind of a me thing, but I really like using history. I love using quotes or verses, whether it be from nursery rhymes, mythological stories, fairy tales, or even the Bible. So to me, it gives that little bit of historical context, even if you take it completely out of context. It's a little more jarring if you take it out of context because you can kind of manipulate it in a way that you want. But if you do it in a good way or a well formed way, then you can make it plausible to where even if somebody reads that scripture or that verse, they may know, well, that's not the full story. But if you can do it in a way that convinces them that your interpretation could have been accurate, then I think you did a good job.
Yeah, I agree.
And again, that's not just biblical scriptures that you can take out of context and try to reformulate, but you can do it with nursery rhymes are a big one for me. I think they're really easy, and I think they typically have a darker past than people realize. Sometimes it's easier to pick those out.
Those things are creepy.
What, nursery rhymes?
Yeah.
Oh, the
Have you ever
origins?
thought about, I saw this and it was like, now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. And if
Fashadah?
I should die before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to take. And then there was a thing that said, why at 7 years old were we thinking
Yeah,
about dying?
that's Fashadah.
What's
That's,
Fashadah?
I sent you this clip.
Oh,
It was the pastor of 1122, Joby Martin,
okay, yeah.
and he had this whole story about Fashadah because he didn't realize it was like, if I should die, it was Fashadah
Oh, I do remember you sending me
before I
that.
wake. And he went to his mom and said, I'm 7. What in the world is going on in this house to where I would possibly die before I wake? Like, what is going on?
I don't know why that's so funny, but
And-
did your parents like tell you
Oh,
to say
no,
that?
yeah. We did that one.
Yeah,
we
me
did
too.
4 angels around my head, 4 corners on my bed, something like
I-
that. I don't know. I don't remember that one too much, but
No, I didn't get that one, but okay.
yes. So, and the caveat to this is if you write this story and you are involved in church and you take that opportunity in the story to take a biblical scripture out of context, that you need to have some sort of disclaimer to the people that may read it, that may then look at you and go, oh, well, either one, you took it out of context and you had no idea, or they're going to think that you did it purposefully, spitefully, and almost in blasphemy of the Bible.
Yeah.
And I don't think that that's the case anytime that I've done it. I think I've done it in both stories so far, last year and this year.
Yeah.
And to me, it wasn't necessarily taken it wasn't taken in a negative way out of context. It was just kind of a quote that aligned with the story that I needed it to. And the essential part of it was, and you can read all of our stories on our website as well. But it was essentially, nobody starts off as evil. And nobody thinks that they're necessarily being evil at that time. Everybody thinks, or most people think, that they're still acting in a good fashion or acting pure, or faithfully, possibly. But if you're blinded by what's going on, that may not actually be the case.
Yeah.
So
That's true.
that was kind of more of the context as to what I tried to pull off this year, and I think it fit really, really well.
Yeah, I would agree.
Do you want to talk about the last part that I try to put in each story, and I think a lot of people do, the climax in the resolution?
We'll stick with the word resolution.
What a child.
So for a haunted attraction story, you're always going to need a resolution. So with that, because you're going through a haunted house, right? And you don't want to just walk through and nothing like, oh, that was, I just got scared, whatever. You need like that. Okay, fine, I'll say it. That climax, like that,
Yeah.
the end, like boom.
Well, the climax isn't necessarily the end. The climax is like the height of the
The
story.
yeah the
It's you're going down to the center of the earth. You are now at the center, like you're the lowest point possible, or you're climbing Mount Everest, and your climax is that peak.
right the
It's
peak.
you, the big event that you've been looking for, you've been waiting for. That's your big moment.
Yeah. And so a story for an attraction should lay the groundwork for the walkthrough without giving it away directly, obviously.
Yeah.
So depending on like how you want your haunt to progress, sometimes a resolution may not be necessary.
Yeah. If you want to kind of leave them with a cliffhanger, if you think your audience has a little more anxiety than the typical person, which I think everybody has that now,
Yeah.
then I think there's absolutely a place for that. So you don't
Right.
necessarily have to have a resolution if that's what you're intending for, but don't make that a cop out every time and go, well, I just don't know how to end it.
Yeah.
That's just, if you do that every time, I don't think that's a good story.
Yeah, I agree. I always like the ending to be like, just like, ah!
Yeah, I want an ending that makes sense.
Right.
There's been a lot of movies we've gone to in the past year,
Ugh,
horror movies specifically, that
Terrible.
you can tell they have no idea
Don't you hate
what
it?
their ending was going to be when they started.
Don't you hate it when you end a book and you're like, what? Like, what
Yeah.
even happened? Why was that even the ending?
I think my most recent example of that was Horror Store by
Ugh.
Grady Hendrix. I think it
Actually,
had
I kind of
great
like that
potential.
ending.
I hated the ending. I thought the book was good, but the way they ended it, I'm not going to spoil it, but I was not a fan.
Yeah, I
I don't
actually
feel like
didn't
it
hate
gave me
it.
resolution.
But
And
yeah,
there was also no sequel, so
some like yeah.
lose.
I mean, sometimes there's a place for it, and sometimes it isn't. Okay, so what supporting evidence or research topics did you delve into for the story?
So for this one, I love fairy tales and I love fantasy-based stories, but I also really like them to have full historical context, or at least something factual, something realistic. So to me, I enjoy watching a lot of shows or movies that kind of show that fiction-driven side. Videos on YouTube also, but I don't want to stop there. To me, I want to read books on it. Even if they may seem like really boring books, I at least want to give them a little bit of credence to what I have to work from.
Right.
So this year, the theme was witchcraft.
Right. I was just about to ask you that.
Yeah. What was your question?
So when we decided that the theme was going to be witchcraft, coming from a Christian perspective or Christian religion, how did you navigate that?
Well, at the beginning, I was kind of naive, and I thought, oh, it's going to be witchcraft. It's going to be. I don't think I ever really said witchcraft. I think all we ever said was the theme is witches. We knew we wanted to do witches and dolls or witches and children. So I think in the moment we decided that, in my head, I was thinking like Disney fantasy witches, like nothing
Yeah.
historically accurate, nothing really dark. It was just like Hansel and Gretel, and that's where my mind stopped.
Right. That's what I thought when you were like, let's do witches. And I'm like, oh.
So I think that changed a lot after we had decided what our vacation was going to be for our anniversary or your birthday.
No, it was for my birthday. Well, I think it was a combined because it was
Yeah.
pretty expensive. So,
So birthday anniversary trip, we chose Salem, Massachusetts, and that was so much fun. We did a road trip on the way there and on the way back.
it was amazing.
No flights. We love flying, but that was a really cool road trip.
Oh, it was so beautiful.
So I don't. I think they toned down the story of the Salem witch trials when I was in school.
Yeah.
I think in the South they added a lot more religion to it and then took out a lot of the actual facts
Yeah, I
from what
learned
I
a
remember.
lot for sure going up there and
So
actually seeing.
to me, going to Salem made a bit of a switch in my head and my perspective of I want to tell a story about witches and I want to show what witchcraft and witches are now because it's
Yeah.
very much a real thing. There are people that will watch the moon and watch the astrological signs, and that's literally like they relate to that very seriously.
Yeah.
Um, so as much as I may not put my faith in that or use the stars to guide what I'm going to do or not do that day, I want to respect the people that do and not just call them crazy or what a lot of other people might. I
Yeah.
want to give them that relatability. I want to give them that voice that they're not crazy. Just because you believe in something and you may not be able to see it doesn't mean that you're nuts.
Just like Christianity.
Right.
So it's all kind of the. No, it's not the same,
It's
but
not
it's
the same, but I think everybody chooses to put their faith in something.
right.
Just because what I put my faith in, what they put their faith in, isn't the same, I'm not going to offend them or tell them my way's better than yours,
Right.
no
You
matter what I
shouldn't.
believe.
Yeah.
I think it's, at the end of the day, it's all about respecting somebody, respecting their views. There's a place for debating and there's a place for arguing those viewpoints.
Yeah.
But for me, I choose to kind of love everybody. Nobody is undeserving of love. Nobody is undeserving of respect, no matter what they believe.
Right. That's because God intended that way, and that's how He sees us.
Right. So,
How did you protect your heart while you were reading these dark books?
so the books I started off reading were a lot of them were like introductory witchcraft books. So I kind of knew where my opinions already were. And I was really just getting these books to look for the symbology. So what certain colors represented to people that practice witchcraft, as well as different numerology, the symbol of numbers and things like that, maybe dates. So it started there, and then we got a book from a secondhand store called Black Magic,
Yeah.
Black Circle, Black Magic,
I think it's right over there.
Black Arts.
Black Arts.
Black Arts by Richard Cavendish, which I believe he was a journalist or a reporter. And the way he did his journalism was instead of being a third party to everything, he would actually participate in as much as he could so that he had kind of that firsthand perspective. Whether he believed in whatever he did or not, he would then kind of write based off his firsthand experiences as well as what he was told. So he kind of did a little bit of both, kind of firsthand and third party knowledge. But that book probably was one that was very, very dark, very, very deep. It went to a lot of detail of sacrificial rituals. It had actual spells in it. There was a lot to it.
Yeah.
It went down a lot of dark paths of like actual black magic that they had over in Europe, where there were actually sects of people that would sacrifice like other people, which to me is absurd.
That's,
But
wow.
while I was reading that, it kind of was laid on my heart of how much time are you investing in reading this book about all the stuff that you claim to not believe in? How much time are you spending reading the Bible, praying, going into that personal worship time?
Yeah.
So to me, it was over a course of probably 2 or 3 days where I just kept getting bogged down and distracted while I was reading this Black Arts book.
Yeah.
And I started to feel really guilty and just negative towards it. And that was kind of my wake-up call of, whatever time I invest in that, I need to spend at least equal, if not more, reading the Bible, reading scriptural context type of book, something that was a little more uplifting
Right.
for my spirit, my soul, all of that. Just something positive. So I listened to a little more worship music. I would read a little of that book. So I slowed down probably about halfway through to reading maybe a chapter every other day. Because again, it was just a really heavy book.
Mm-hmm.
So once I did that, I felt much more at ease with with really what I was reading and what I found my faith to be in.
Yeah.
So after that, when people would question it, I don't really think I thought about it as polarizing as it was. Because to me, I had already come to that bridge. I had already come to terms with it in my own self.
And I
So it
think
was
that's
fine.
a lot of people ask, like, well, why aren't you scared of this? Why aren't you scared of that? And I mean, I could go on and on about why I'm not, or why I used to be and why I'm not now. The rat is back, by the way. He went for a midday nap, and now he has come back. But anyways, I could go on and on about, because we went to like a really deep, dark house, the Conjuring house, for a visit
Yeah.
when we went on our road trip last year. And I protected my heart and, with my faith and with prayer and just knowing that, your heart and your soul is protected from the darkness. And you don't let that enter whatsoever. So I'm glad that you decided to, or that was, convicted on you that you decided to do that. So,
Yeah.
okay, so that was a good few minutes talking about storyline and research and stuff. So we went through like what our first event was like. And then this year, we talked about it a little bit. It was a way different. So like it wasn't a party. It was a
Right.
walkthrough experience. So it was more of like, you arrive, you park, you walk over to the queue line. Obviously, we don't have a ticket booth or anything because we didn't, sell tickets or anything. It was just for anyone who wanted to come, free of charge. And we had high hopes. We thought that there would be,
Oh, yeah. My goal was 50 people. Like
yeah.
that in my head. I don't know if I ever expressed that, but my goal was at least 50 people to show up.
So yeah, I was hoping a lot more would show up too. But I mean, it was better to be prepared than not prepared.
Yeah, for sure.
So we had an hour of cue music just to make sure no one heard the same song twice, which was fine. I mean, whatever. And then we had our huge parking area roped off, which is good that we knew how to do it rather than, because some places you go to and you're like, where the heck do I park?
Yeah.
Or like,
And we couldn't really do street parking, so
no, I mean,
you
we
have to
live out in
travel
the
a half
middle
a mile
of
from
nowhere.
the main road. So
Yeah.
we have the space. It's just a matter of where it doesn't flood.
Yeah. So there are, some things that we would have done differently, obviously. We definitely had less food this time.
Yep.
Because we don't want it to be a party. But I wanted somebody, people to have, something before they left to like leave. So we had, just some cider and some cookies and we gave people some like take home goodies, like what were they? I laminated some
This year
tarot
or last year?
this year.
Oh, yeah. We
Some
had the
tarot
laminated tarot
cards.
cards that Casey came up with all of the actual like items on there.
It was really fun to do. I actually really enjoyed that.
And that was all made in Canva.
Yep, I did all that in Canva, and it was more of like horoscope tarot cards. So we didn't have like somebody sitting there like reading
Yeah, we
the
didn't
tarot.
have like
We're not gonna do
the
that.
high priestess.
Yeah,
or
we didn't
I don't
have
even know all
that.
the other tarot card
Just
names.
because that's not what we're really into. So so overall, it was a good event. I think we would have. So the people working our event was
Family.
family. And
Mostly
friends.
family, yeah, family and
We had
friends.
2 friends that were acting with us, and they were amazing. Thanks, guys.
Yes.
And so it wouldn't have been as good if we didn't have the actors.
Yeah, that
And
was a huge
so,
thing that I didn't realize how much of a difference it made.
yeah, because walking through, it's fine and all good with like moving props,
Yeah, but
but you got to have people.
yeah, that's the end of it. You're just walking through a Home Depot.
Basically, yeah. Nobody wants that. I mean, some people do, but anyway, so what are some things that we would have done differently? So,
So this
obviously,
year, I, knowing what I know now, I think I would have chosen to market it a little better, or a lot better. I would have put it in more of the Facebook groups. I would have, gotten our flyer to neighboring haunts within like an hour so that they could have marketed us a little better.
right?
Because they had offered. Like, we had gone on some backstage tours of some neighboring haunts in Gainesville, and they were super for,
Yeah.
like, helping us market. They had a whole board that
Which
anybody
will
that came
be
through them.
which will be a whole episode in itself because they're amazing and we want to
Yes.
talk about what they're
This
doing.
year we have made a ton of friends
Yeah.
in the haunt industry. From both the convention, we met a lot of people there, but also just going to haunts. If a haunt near you has a back, like behind the screens type of thing, and you want to get in the haunt industry, the best thing you can do is go to one of those and go in with an open mind. Don't go in expecting to look for the flaws. Go in with that mindset of learning. Whatever
Yeah.
they're doing, you could be doing something similar, something like it. And it's not a competition.
No.
I think
It's support.
the whole concept of
100%.
a tide a tide lifts all boats, something like that. A tide lifts all boats.
Oh, I've never heard that.
I don't know who said it. I could guess, but I'd be very wrong.
Okay.
But it's basically, if there's a lot of haunts in the area, you're not necessarily in competition.
No.
You are in the prime opportunity to market each other's haunts. You can go in for kind of a combination ticket. And you
Right.
can go, well, $5 off for that haunt if you come to ours, and vice versa. Like,
Right, because nobody wants to go to just one haunt. If you like
No.
haunted houses, you're going to want to go to different things.
yeah, so the more haunts that are in that area, the more people will come to that area for at least one haunt. And if one haunt's getting attention, you can too.
Right.
And you can have similar haunts, you can have completely different ones. So we went to 2, or really 3 this year, that were very, very different from each other.
Yeah, and they were all great.
And the haunt that is what we're kind of in the background planning for next year, possibly, is different from all 3 of those.
Yeah, vastly
Not
different.
because we want to be in a different competitive market, but just we have a different game plan of what we can do well, what we can capitalize on based on our experience and history. And we
Yeah.
think that it would be a really cool partner attraction to all the haunts we visited. So we'll talk about that
Yeah.
more at a future date if it actually takes off.
Yeah, I think it will. Hopefully. Well, so let's, before we end the episode, we're just going to talk about some next steps that we have. So now that, we've started making a network of connections in our area with commercial haunts, it gives us the excitement and motivation to join and become friends with them and just learn from them.
For sure.
And then we've also started making a list of what we need to research and accomplish.
Already started there as well.
Yep. But we have a lot of support from our new haunt friends, and hopefully we can find more. And we are also going to.
I don't know. Oh, we're going to Transworld.
Yeah, I'm so
Yeah.
excited about that.
Yeah, that'll
We're
be
going to Missouri.
super overwhelming.
Yeah, I'm going to have to take extra anxiety medicine.
Yep. We've got all of our seminars mapped out so that we have a few that we want to go to together, a few that one of us is more interested in than the other. So we're going to do a few separate, a few together, go around the shop floor, For us, it's mostly about the seminars. It's, again, we typically, when we go into any environment, we have that mindset of learning. What can we do? What can we do better? So for us, it's more about the seminars, less about the sales. It's really cool to see
Yeah.
all the props, all
Oh,
the new
yeah.
tech, but
So cool.
I don't think we're gonna go in and leave with
No, we're not.
$30,000 worth of props and lighting. and
We're
all
not
that.
there yet. We need to make money first before we.
Yeah, we've got to know where to start.
Yeah.
Insurance, fire marshal stuff,
Mm-hmm.
safety. I know safety. We joked about it at the beginning, but
It's for
it is
real.
a serious
Yeah,
concern for
it
if we're
is.
gonna do commercial haunting
Yeah, we want everybody
That
to
needs
be
to be
safe
the
as well as us.
first and foremost. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, Transworld. I'm super excited.
Me too. I've never been to St. Louis. You have, but I have not.
I've driven through it,
Oh.
and I don't have a positive story.
Well, I'm excited to see Missouri for the first time. Misery.
The big arch is really cool.
Yeah,
That'll be cool to see
I'm
together.
excited to see that. So yeah, we hope you enjoyed this first episode. Stay tuned for another episode. We're gonna try to do those every Friday, every other Friday.
I think we can safely commit to one a month,
Oh,
but I
Okay.
think every other week would be cool.
all right. Well,
seems
you'll
doable.
know when a new one comes out. Like us, follow us, and hopefully you'll come back and listen to us again.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.